Hello, and welcome back to Dark Academia Queen. Today we are going to be talking about a couple of more places that are supposedly haunted. Now we actually talked about this city. You can actually go back and watch the episode, so I'm not going to give like a full history lesson on that one. But if you're new here, hit that like button, ring that bell, and ring that bell for notifications. Also, help a girl out, and please subscribe, please. But today we're going to be talking about two places in Savannah, Georgia, the Kehoe House and the Sorrel-Weed House. And this was listed on National Geographic as the top as two of the top 13 haunted places in the U.S. Now, I'm a believer in ghosts. I am not going to lie to you, and I went down a rabbit hole because I was very curious, and I had planned on going to Savannah a few years ago. Yeah, but we ended up going to Pensacola instead. But the first I'm going to be talking about the Kehoe House, and this is located in historic downtown Savannah. It is one of the 13 most haunted places in the U.S. that you can visit. It is a 13-room inn that is a must-stop on any local ghost tour. Um, And like I said, I gave a history earlier, so you can go back and watch that. But this is now they also do many nighttime. Now here's the thing: this is a 13-room inn, and tour guides often tell many tales of nighttime apparitions and the noise that can happen here. So some even go as far as say there are even strange things going on as well. Um, as it was the former life of a mortuary. It was built in the Columbia Square in Savannah, and the house was completed in May of 1892. And it was built by William Kehoe and his family, and there they lived in the house for a number of years with their children. And it is known for some of their children passing away inside the house. Now there is a ghostly lore of the Kehoe house that attracts many people. But the guests who stay at the Kehoe house have reported all sorts of haunted events happening to them while staying at the Kehoe house. Um, while children have passed away in their home, there is no coincidence that the ghosts of the children that are some of the most reported ghostly occurrences in the U.S. in the house. One of the stories that won't die is, despite being debunked pretty heavily, is the story of two of the Kehoe children getting stuck in a chimney. And if you believe the rumors, they were never able to escape and died in the chimney. The story goes that one day Mrs. Cohey came home to find two of her children missing in a picnic. In a panic, she looked everywhere, but they were nowhere to be found. And sometime later, a bad smelling was coming from the house. This led the Cohey family to look in the chimney where they found the bodies of the two children. Fortunately, this never happened, but the fact still remains: many people who have stayed in the Cody house have experienced paranormal activity that involved ghosts of children. So one possible explanation can be found when you consider the residential hauntings. The residual hauntings are when events or sounds from the house seemingly replay themselves in a haunted location. And we may think many children have lived in the Coey house. Well, before it was known as the haunted bed and breakfast, it is possible that the guests are experiencing it actually as the residual imprints that those children left on the house. So, what exactly? So, what exactly is the haunted Coey house in Savannah? Well, if you haven't heard any of the stories where the ghosts of these children seem to interact with the living, instead it just seems to be the sounds of children playing, and that makes us believe that it was comes to the ghost of children of the Coey house. That is the residual haunting here. Um, Another ghostly experience that occurs in the Kehoe house is the smell of perfumes from an aged past. From an aged past have been noticed rafting their way through the halls and bedrooms of the haunted Savannah house. But now being able to explain why some of the hauntings of the Kehoe house doesn't explain some of the other hauntings and encounters of the Kehoe house. At least one of the ghosts here seems to have intelligent variety. And intelligent hunting is one of where the ghost and the spirit entity appears to recognize the living and can interact with them. And we know that this happens at the Kehoe house. And this also can explain the reports and feeling of someone touching them while they sleep. And numerous people have stayed at the Kehoe house and have reported um ghostly um ghostliness. Imagine laying in bed peacefully sleeping, relaxing, and you're like trying to enjoy a day after a long day of exploring Savannah, and this happens to you. I personally would be, I don't know. I think I would be freaked out at first, but I think I would like. I'm very interested in this kind of stuff, so I wonder how that would actually turn out, honestly. But you could. It can certainly be said. And then again, you be grabbed by a ghost while you're trying to relax. Um, And well, if you knew that the Kehoe house is well known as part of the most haunted places in Savannah, maybe you'd be expecting it. But regardless, this shows that not all the ghosts at the Kehoe house are residual in nature. There are certainly a few intelligent ghosts there as well, fully aware of the world we are living in. So can you stay at the Kehoe hunting house? Yes. If you're looking for to stay in what stay, the Kehoe House has certainly a place where you'd consider. You really don't like know if you're gonna have a run in or not. That's the thing. But I think that would be worth the while, like trying to figure it out. So where is the Kehoe House located? It can be found on 123 Habersham Street on Columbia Street. And the Kehoe House is open to the public, so just remember, don't go looking for ghosts. Please be normal. Just know that there is history here and everything. But it's a historic building in Savannah, and it is located in the northeastern civic block of Columbia Street, and was built in 1892. The house was built for Irish immigrant William Kehoe, owner of the Kehoe Iron founder, and his second home on the square at 130 Habersham Street was built in 1885 and now known as the William J. Kehoe House. The places to add to my bucket list when I go to Savannah, I'm telling y'all. It is one of the and after both of his businesses and families expanded, he built this larger home diagonally across the square. It is now a 13-room inn and is one of the three historic inns of Savannah, and the two being the Gastonian and the Eliza Thompson House. Now, the inn is owned by Savannah HLC's houses, which owns the city's old Harbor Inn, as well as the Eliza Thompson House, as well, and the East Bay Inn and the Gastonian. Alright. Next, we have the Sorrel-Weed House, and it is located in Savannah. It is one of 13 places in the U.S. that has been featured on many TV shows for paranormal activity, and the show offers you a chance to experience what is said to be one of the most actively haunted locations in the country. The Sorrel-Weed House is also known as the Francis Sorrel House. Not only is it actively haunted, it is also a historical landmark. And the house also represents the finest examples of Greek Revival and Regency architectures in Savannah, and it is even one of the first two homes in Georgia to make a landmark in 1954. And the house is even one of the largest cities. And the house is even one of the largest in the cities. Now, the house first opened to the public in January 1940 by the Society for the Preservation of Savannah Landmarks. It is also the first exhibit and is called the Society for the Preservation of Savannah Landmarks. Present a lone exhibit furniture of fine artists in 18th and 19th century at the Sorrel-Weed House on Madison Square, January through April 1940. Try saying that one 10 times fast. But the society later became a historic Savannah Foundation, and the Sorrel-Weed House was opened again to the public in 2005. and it conducts historic Savannah tours during the day and Savannah ghost tours inside the house in the every evening. And the tours are conducted at the Sorrel-Weed House Museum and it is located on the corner of Bull Street and Harris Street. The Sorrel-Reed House was a boyhood home for the Brigadier General Moxley Sorrel, who fought in the Confederate States in America during the Civil War. He served under General James Longstreet after the war broke. Well, and after the war, he wrote the recollections of the Confederate staff officer, and is considered to be one of the top post-war accounts, with General Robert E. Lee in the house home in the late 1861 and early 1862. He and Francis Sorrel had become friends in the early 1830s. Lee also visited Sorrel family in April 1870, shortly before his death. A.J. Cohen Sr. is a prominent Savannah businessman who bought the Sorrel-Reed house in 1941, and the Cohen family has lived in the home for more than 50 years. A.J. Cohen Jr. built a brick addition to the house and opened Lady Jane, an upscale women's clothing store which thrived in Savannah for 3 decades. And the store closed in 1991, and the home was bought by Stephen Bader in 1996, and Bader removed the brick addition um, soon after the purchase. The opening scene in 1994's film Forrest Gump was filmed from the rooftop of the Sorrel-Reed house, and it is a popular tourist stop. In the scene in which many can be seen floating a feather through the Savannah sky, pans in the roof tops of the other buildings occupying Madison Square, as seen as the very top of the Sorrel-Reed home. And the scene that then is spliced into a scene of a church located on Chippewa Square, where ultimately Forrest is soon sitting on a bench. So more things I have to add to my bucket list if I ever make it to Savannah. But the house it was investigated by Taps during a special 2005 Halloween special episode of Ghost Hunters, and the house was also featured on HGTV's If Walls Could Talk. In March 2006, it was also investigated by Ghost Adventures crew in 2014. And the house was featured on Travel Channel's The Most Terrifying Places in the U.S. and in 2010 on the Paula Deen Network in 2015. The house is a contributing property to Savannah Historical District. Now, what is the history behind this house? We know the legend and everything, but what is the history? Well, the Sorrel-Reed house was designed by famous Georgia architect Charles Kluskey, who moved to Savannah in 1829 from New York City, where it is believed he apprenticed under architectural firm of Town and Davis. Kluskey also designed the old governor's mansion in Mildredville, and the house was built for Francis Sorrel, a wealthy shipping merchant who was an esteemed citizen of Savannah. One of the sons was General one he was one of the youngest generals in the Confederate Army. In 1859, a purchase agreement was made by a prominent Savannah businessman, Henry D. Reed, as he took possession of the house in 1862. It has remained in the Reed family until 1914. And what do we know about the year 1914? Yeah. Sorrel-Reed House has a reputation for being one of the most haunted buildings in Savannah. Two of the most prominent stories involve Francis Sorrel's wife Matilda, who committed suicide, and his mistress Molly. And the Sorrel-Reed house was featured on the Wall Street Journal in 2009 due to its haunting reputation. And on the 10 best listed website for Halloween travel destinations. Disney's Babel listed the Sorrel-Reed house as one of the 5th most haunted places in the U.S. as well. Let's talk about the architectural style of the house. So, there are many comparisons between the Sorrel-Reed house, Thomas Jefferson's Monticello, and William J. Owen's Thomas House in Savannah. And although there is a Greek Revival house, English Regency influences are prominent. SCAD hosted the 28th annual meeting of the Vernacular Architectural Forum in 2007, and themed as the Savannah and the Low Country architects historians from around categorized the house of Savannah and the Low Country. And the Sorrel-Weed houses included the colonial Williamsburg picks, the Caribbean Torrey Savannas in the Caribbean is the Caribbean in the Savannah, was listed as one of the houses chosen to be conference committee favorites. Ghost Adventures also should investigate this place. So, Willie Graham, he was the curator of architect for Colonial Williamsburg Foundation, came to the house and drew detailed blueprints during the conference, and he also wrote a lengthy and quite detailed article of the Sorrel-Weed House in the 455 vernacular architectural forerun as well. He also confirmed the article of the Victorian stairway that was demolished in 1999 and was indeed a late 19th century addition by the Reed family. The original Sorrel staircase was originally quite similar to the 1999 recreation. The stairway built for the Sorrel family mimics the Regency Owens um, and Thomas House staircase, and is designed earlier in 1861 by William J. of Savannah. And this staircase is ascending from the mid-floor stoop, for which one can walk to the left or the right to ascend to the second floor. Now, a common device that is used by William J. Nkleski in Savannah's architecture was the division of the space in the foyer by two columns, and it was intended to differentiate between the guest space and the private family space. And Nkleski's use was intended to differentiate the guest space from the family room. He also designed a small space between the front door and the two columns where would wait to be greeted. My type of house right here. I'm telling you, I would buy a house that someone died in. I'm not joking. But an interesting observation was made that when the Sorrel dining room was intended for private family dinner only, Mr. Graham also that confirmed that the staff wall, which was turned down in 1999, was a late 19th century addition to the Reed House, and the columns were recreated for the space placed on the wall where the Sorrel family had them originally. And Mr. Graham discusses these columns in his article. But that is it for this episode. I will see y'all next time. Y'all have a great day. And I don't know what, and hopefully you stay.